Welcome back to AM Northwest. It's a book filled with deeply personal stories of recovery, written by women who are experts in the treatment of trauma. Here to share more, we welcome the editor and an author of Women Therapists on Healing, Susan Pease Banitt, along with contributing author Leann Johnson. Good to have you both with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, Susan, let me start with you though.
Yes.
Why the importance of this book and these stories of female therapists?
Because we don't hear enough from women therapists. I've been in this field for a long time. This is actually my 50th year going into human services work.
Yeah.
And I've heard the same names and the same people for the last 25 to 30 years, and they're all men. And I finally went to a workshop and I'm like, you know, I need to do something about this. And I know so many women who are experts in trauma therapy, and I contacted everybody I knew, and they all said, yes, we'll write this book with you. And so I got everybody to contribute a chapter for this book. Yeah.
And who's your audience?
The audience is women, and women who are...
All women?
All women.
Okay.
Women who are therapists, but also women who are not therapists, I think are going to get a lot from this.
Yes.
And if you have any curiosity about what it's like being a therapist and doing this work, that's also an interesting reason to do this, to read this book. But I asked all my authors to share some of their wisdom about healing from trauma, and to also share a little bit of their personal journey in healing from trauma.
Leann, you shared your personal journey about moving to Vancouver, Washington as a child, and being the only person of color in your school, and then the experiences that go from there.
Right.
Tell me about that trauma.
So only person of color other than my younger sister.
Yeah.
And it's racial trauma. So my chapter is about overcoming racial trauma. The experience that I had as one of the two only black children in that school was very isolating.
Yeah.
When we moved to Vancouver as a family from Portland, I was so excited. I was happy to go to a public school.
Yeah. You get to wear real clothes.
Real clothes. Don't have to go to the uniform store anymore.
Right.
And it turned out to be one of the most traumatic and tragic times in my life.
Yeah.
The N-word was kind of just part of the vernacular, if you will, at that point in time. And
it was 72?
1972. Yes. And the unfortunate aspect of it was, for me, was that no adults at the school, the teacher
they didn't intervene.
Never intervened. And it just had to be a simple no. It wouldn't be until several years later when I was in junior high that a teacher finally just said, no, we don't say that word here.
Good.
And that's all it took.
Yeah.
That's all it took. They didn't have to point to me like, oh, you know, just no, we don't say that.
And why, when you think about her trauma, sharing her trauma, so many other people have been through that same trauma.
Yes.
Right?
And, you know, I'm a social worker. I was trained in anti-racism and all of that. But I was so affected by her story.
Yeah,
when I read
it's really powerful.
It's visceral, and it kind
visceral.
of reaches you in a different way than intellectually when you read about somebody's really lived and felt experience through something like that. And I think that is something we haven't been exposed to enough yet. Yeah.
What do you think, have you had anyone say anything to you about or respond to your story or talk to you about your story?
This is the first interaction.
Okay.
The book came out just a few
How
weeks
does
ago.
it feel to release that story out into the universe?
It actually feels very, very freeing, very healing, and it's something that I would not necessarily have written through journaling, but I wrote it with the idea that this could help somebody else.
Oh, and I think it will.
Yes.
I was talking to you earlier about this. Reminds me of Ruby Bridges' story.
Yes.
She was going to school thinking she was just going to have a fun day at school in her new dress and meet fun people, and she had no idea what she was about to encounter.
Right. Yes. And I do need to say that I did meet some fun people.
Good.
I met people that were very caring, some lifelong good friends, families that supported us. So there was the upside as well.
Right. Absolutely.
Of all of that.
There are all types of trauma. We just heard racial trauma. Tell me about other types of trauma. Sexual trauma.
Right. I think the top ones we know are like physical abuse and sexual abuse, and it's great, and we need to keep talking about those.
Right.
But there's also the Epstein level of trauma, which was the level of trauma I was working with, and one of my colleagues wrote a chapter on ritual trauma and trafficking trauma. There's also medical trauma for those of us who've tried to get medical care over the years unsuccessfully for, let's say, chronic conditions that are not well known and diagnosed.
Right.
And they are made to feel crazy for going to the doctor. A lot of people with trauma have those kinds of problems in their body, so it addresses those kinds of traumas.
When you think of medical trauma too, you think of all the issues that women face and they aren't believed.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
we've
Right.
experienced that with all different types of diseases that women experience that male doctors do not believe them.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome here in my 60s. There's one geneticist in Oregon that works with that disorder, and everybody else couldn't help me with it. So I have a colleague from Australia that wrote about that kind of problem.
What are you hoping people, how will they react? How do you want people to react to your series of essays?
I really am looking for an empathic response. That's why I ask people to share their stories, because I think if we engage our empathy along with our intellect, then we can really start to be creative about solutions for these problems.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to tell everyone the book again is titled The Women Therapists on Healing. Susan and Leann, thank you both so much.
Thank you so much, Helen.
All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest.